Well, folks, let's talk about elegancy and functionality. And I want to talk to you about the Osborne 940-2 from Benchmade. Now, I've had the 943 for quite a while, and we're going to run that in here in just a moment. Love that knife, very elegant, very just functional. I mean, it's just wicked looking. And just these designs from not only Osborne, but in collaboration with Benchmade, have just always connected with me when I first got into knives and I first came upon these. And initially, you know, they're pretty pricey, and I'm like, oh man, you know, and it took me a while to get the 943, got the 943, and now I have the 940-2, which is the G10 version with the pillar construction there, the green pillars. And we're going to look at this today, run it up against the other design, but also just talk to you briefly as well about performance and grind angles and whether or not this is the right knife for you to put into your EDC system, your everyday carry system. And for me, this design is one of the few knives that I know of on the market that is going to give you this slim a profile at a 3.45 inch blade length, which is pretty crazy, you know, to get almost a 3.5 inch blade with such a slim profile and under 3 ounces. It's very difficult to do that. So it's not going to take up a lot of real estate in your pocket, but you're still going to get a lot of blade to work with. And then on top of that, just the intricacies, the design, the reverse tanto, all those things that we're going to discuss today. Now, I picked this up on a sale over at the 511 store, which was awesome. I happened to be in there. They happen to have a sale, and they do sell at their locations more than just their own blades. They're starting to pick up different companies, but on average you're going to find this for about 170 bucks. We will have links over to Amazon. That helps me buy gear just like this guy and do videos and just do discussions so that you guys can make a wise decision when you are deciding on gear items to throw in your system. So check out those links below. We'll have all the Osborne designs from Benchmade over there on Amazon. And for the $170 price point, you know, we'll go ahead and jump into some beautiful blade footage, show it to you, and then we'll discuss whether or not that is a good price point for you to decide if you're going to throw down that much money to carry an EDC knife. Now at this portion, I want to run in the knife that we did a while ago, last year. Love this knife, but I think I like the 940 in this version better. This is the Osborne 943. Very similar to the 940, except for a different blade profile. This one has a very large clip. It's not a reverse tanto or sheep's hoof, and it comes into that really precise tip there. And it does have the aluminum body, just like the original 940. This one has the blue spine, and that was really, for me, why I wanted to go with that. I didn't like the purple spine on the original 940, and I like, you know, when possible, to have black, and, you know, just whenever possible. So with my pocket knives, it just, you know, limits the noticeability in your pocket and that type of a thing. Now, very similar, obviously. This is just kind of an upgrade. The things that I notice compared to these two knives is that the grind overall is slightly higher on the 940 than on the 943. The 943, because it has such an aggressive drop here, the grind goes up high here the same, but then it goes down. So it's not quite as good a slicer as the 940, the 943, just because of the grind angles. And grind angles are just as important as blade thickness and all the other things because they're both saber grinds, but it has an overall consistent high grind where this one actually has a lower grind dropping down to the point. So that is something to consider. I found that this guy just slices better with cardboard and different types of materials that way. The other thing is that not that at these weight classes, it doesn't really matter, but the 940, particularly with this design of the G10 and flow-through construction, is going to be lighter than your normal 940s with the aluminum handles or the 943. Those are going to come in at 2.95 ounces, whereas these guys are going to come in at 2.65 ounces. So they shave off like 0.4 of an ounce. Not that it matters when you're talking about this, compact and this lightweight folder. Then the final thing that I'll just touch on is that the aluminum. These are both, high polish. The G10 doesn't really give you any more traction than the aluminum does, but the angles on the G10 just seem to be machined a little bit better. They're just a little bit more rounded. They just feel a little more contoured in your hand. The ergonomics are just slightly better than on the aluminum versions, and because you're working with aluminum, these angles right here are just a little sharper on the bottom. Not enough to cause pain or anything. I mean, I love this knife still, but this one is just that much better. So that is what I have noticed between these two folders, the aluminum versions and the G10 versions. And finally, the aluminum versions are slightly more expensive. They're about $10 more because of the aluminum that they're having to work with versus the G10 that they have to work with, which is just easier, less wear and tear on your machines and that type of a thing. So just things to consider when you're deciding on Osborne designs between the G10, 940 and other versions, either the 940 in aluminum or the 943. Well, folks, there you have it. Just a quick rundown of the knife. It's a popular design. It's been reviewed tons of times, and this is just my 2 cents on it. And I will say that the grind angle is definitely improved on the 940 over the 943 design, and that's just something to consider when you are picking up blades, regardless if it's for EDC, tactical, self-defense, outdoors, bushcraft, survival, camping, whatever. What type of grind angle and the distance, and some of that you just have to learn for yourself. Some of that you can hear from YouTube reviewers like myself that can give you at least some perspective. But the higher the grind, the better the slicer it tends to be. You lose strength the higher the grind goes up the blade. But on knives of this size, we don't need something that's a pry bar. So, guys, I totally dig the 940-2, and now it has replaced the 943. Not only because it's lighter weight, it just has an extra cool factor, and the grind angle helps the performance. So guys, if you are looking at the Osborne series, I highly recommend looking at this one in particular, just because of the lower price point, lower weight, and then some of the extra cool features like the flow-through construction versus the solid aluminum handles on just the 940. So as always, thank you so much for coming over here today and checking out the channel. I really appreciate it, guys. Check us out on all the relevant social media. That's a great way to see what's up and coming. Always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.